Hi there. It's Suicide Prevention Week, and I today wrote a story, a reflection on my journey with suicide. And one of the very first times that it became a really big thing in my world, or a really distinct possibility that I might choose that, was when I was 19. And while I wrote the story and it's on Facebook, I also got the nudge from the universe that sometimes people, when they're in that space of depression and loss and all that, the last thing they want to do is to read a whole bunch of words. So I am choosing to read my story to you so that you can listen. And if you choose to watch, well, that's cool too. If you choose to read it for yourself, that's cool too. And my only hope is that maybe it will inspire you to keep breathing. So here we go. This is a story I've only told a few people due to the criticism and the judgment I have received on occasion from people that made me keep it as something very close to my chest for a long time. Back when I was a 19-year-old uni student, it was my second year of university. I was terribly homesick and in the throes of a really messy breakup with my boyfriend, who had chosen to start seeing my good friend, and I wasn't coping with my studies. And while I tried my best to talk to my friends, they were tired of listening. I was numb. Everything was dull, bland, tasteless, and pointless. I was in a very deep, dark hole with no conceivable way out and absolutely no light at the top. So I planned out the how and when of leaving this body for good. I later called it my going sideways. I never told anyone what I was planning to do. And then something miraculous happened. It was a week before D-Day, and I decided to go into town to get a few things, to make peace before I left. It was strange because the trains weren't working, and so were replaced by buses. I took a taxi. I thought, why not? I'm not going to need that money. I'll be gone this time next week. I walked in a daze-like bubble around the shops, and I picked up a few things for my flatmate in the flat. It was time to leave. I walked back to the train station. The trains still weren't running, and the buses were running late, and there wasn't a taxi in sight. So I chose to walk home. It would take over an hour, but I didn't care. I walked the longer way through the back streets. I was this person walking in a bubble of depression, loss, and helplessness. Shoulders hunched, sad eyes, almost a zombie walking. I continued wandering down the path, and through a tiny pinprick hole in my bubble, a smell began to tickle my nose. I frowned. I hadn't really smelt anything in months. What was that? I took my eyes off my feet, and I saw a man mowing his lawns. I breathed in again. Slightly deeper breath. I hadn't breathed deeply in a long time. The hole in the bubble began to open just a little bit more. Ah, it's the smell of cut grass. A slight softening of my lips occurred. I breathed deeply some more. I walked further down the path, and I heard a bird chirping in the tree. That was a bird, I thought. My ears, which had been numb and filled with cotton wool, began to clear. I breathed again. The hole in the bubble got just a little bigger. The more I was able to receive, the more the universe and this beautiful planet were able to gift me. A child on a pink three-wheeled trike with tassels in the handlebars rode towards me, giggling her head off. I watched her as she rode up to me and past me, and for the first time in many months, I actually almost managed a genuine smile. To have no cares like that, I thought, and my smile dropped. I breathed. As I continued down the footpath, the sky was clear blue, the sun was warm, and then it happened. As if by magic, I looked up. The most beautiful rainbow was spread across the sky. I stopped in my tracks, dropped my shopping on the footpath, and touched my cheeks. I could actually feel them. And I smiled. And I breathed. I breathed deeply. I closed my eyes. I breathed. And I smiled. To this day, I can't tell you how long I was standing there. All I knew was in that moment the bubble pretty much disappeared. I was raw, I was vulnerable, but I was back to having my body and me together again. I could smell, I could hear, I could feel, and I could smile. That rainbow followed me for quite a while, gifting to me the energy to keep going, contributing to me in a way that I'd never experienced before. All I knew at the time was that it was special and that I could just maybe keep on going. The heaviness in my world didn't instantly disappear at that time, but it certainly eased a great deal. I was finally able to begin choosing for me and create some ease in my world. I dropped out of the most creatively demanding part of my architecture studies and focused on the boring legal stuff. I passed that with ease. I eventually moved out and away from this friend circle I had created, which was causing so much angst and hurt. I went to live back in the halls of residence where I met new people. I was quiet. I made a few new friends and we walked in nature. I also created other ways of being able to feel and be loved. It was the most lovely summer that year, being loved for being me. And slowly, very slowly, I began to find a new path, a path for me. Now, the retelling of this period of my life is not to seek pity or, woe is me, my life is shit. I tell this so others who may be feeling like they are in that bubble just might be inspired to breathe a little easier, to know they are not alone. The one thing that is different for me now is that I know I have the full-on toolbox of tips and tricks to help me dissolve those moments of helplessness and hopelessness. These days, getting my bars run in those moments of super high stress and emotional turmoil, and now as a regular maintenance for my body, is one of the most life-changing things I have added to my world. It has created ways over the last 3 years for me to move through the loss of my 2 babies, my marriage ending, and the death of my granddad with so much more ease than I ever thought possible. The way it relaxes my body just from someone simply touching my head for an hour or so is magical and an incredible experience. I'm so grateful for the gift of receiving and running bars that I really don't know where I would have been if it hadn't come along when it did. For Suicide Prevention Week, I'm gifting a session to someone who really has been so courageous in their life over the last month. She's been through a lot, and she jumped at the chance for me to run her bars for the very first time this weekend. So if you, my friend, are listening and watching this, and it resonates with you at all, and you're thinking, man, I'm ready to try anything, well done, my friend. You have taken the very first step to knowing that something else is possible. Just my interesting point of view, please find a bars facilitator or a practitioner in your area. And if you can't or you don't know how, please let me know and I'll help you find one. If you live in Adelaide, well, it would be my pleasure to book you in with a session with me. I'm inspired by some pretty magical people in my life with these next few words. Please know you are not alone. You are a miracle walking. You are amazing. You are a gift. And you are loved. Kia kaha, aroha nui whānau. And if I can give you one thing at all right this very second, here's a huge kiwi cuddle just for you. Please remember to breathe. Stand outside for just a moment and breathe. Big, huge, deep